Support for this podcast is brought to you by Rich Rocket Media. Your vision realized. Send us an email to get started on your creative journey today at iamrichrrocketmedia@gmail.com. What's up, everybody? This is Rich Rocket, and this is another episode of Me Centric, the podcast that's usually about me, made by me, and sometimes just for me. I am joined today by my guests, some of my very near and dear friends. We're going to start on this side. Please introduce yourself, ma'am.
Oh, hey, y'all. I'm Queenland, DC. What up?
This is a beautiful young lady.
Hi, it's 7 Captures in the building. Yeah, that's all.
And then this gentleman.
Hey, what's up, people? DMV is Kent Black, Virginia native. Yeah, blessed to be here. Thanks for having me.
I love how you guys only said where you're from. Like, that's the only thing that you are.
You didn't give us any other credentials.
I mean, when you introduce yourself to a person, is that what you just say?
You know what I'm saying? Follow me on Instagram.
There you go.
At the Kent Black, all one word. I'm in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So today, we've already kind of had a pretty elevated, I won't say heated, elevated discussion about people accepting ideologies, which also kind of, in a nutshell, goes into accepting people for who they are and how they are. So let me start off with this question, still in the same idea of what we were just talking about. But do you think it is important to, or do you think that when you are getting to know someone, let's say even if it's like a new friend or a dating situation, if they have a belief that's different than yours, is that necessarily a deal breaker? This question's for anyone.
I guess it really just depends on like how important that idea is to the individual, you know.
So let's just say the idea is religion. So just say, like, if you are not a spiritual person, and this person is extremely spiritual in a way that their life and life practices revolve completely around their spirituality and their beliefs, do you think that would interfere with you building a friendship or a relationship with that person?
It really depends. I feel like, well, first of all, I feel like religion and spirituality are two different things completely, but it really depends if the person is like very like outwardly like projective of their beliefs, you know. If they
project it
onto you.
Okay.
Yeah, because I have like dynamics with friends, and I'm not a very religious person. I don't believe in organized religion, but I am a very spiritual person. But I don't mind religion at all. So I'm very receptive to it, and I'm very receptive to a lot of religion because for me, it's important to understand like the dynamics of religious beliefs so that I can form my own opinion. Yeah.
So you're saying that in a sense where you already have your formed opinion of, you know, the world and your scope.
Yeah.
But are you saying that person would be able to influence that or no?
They could influence it, yeah, maybe in a positive way or a negative way. It just depends on the individual and how they express themselves.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you think?
Well, for me, like, I'm Haitian, so like I was raised in like, you know, Catholic.
Haitians, I was a Catholic, right?
Catholic.
Okay.
Actually, my mom like broke off and decided to become like Protestant, so that was a big deal.
Fight the power.
Yeah, that was like the ultimate because
Jeez.
so she was raised. So that's like a, you know, mini fight that they have.
No, when you say they, you mean like her and her family?
Her and her mom, because like they were like,
they're Haitian too.
Yeah, so you know, And then, you know, I had my communion, I had all these things, I've been baptized. And I mean, for me, learning more about like, you know, how Black people came about to, you know, being Christians, like recently, it definitely is
through like oppression.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I think for me, it's like, I know a lot of people, like, once they learn that fact, they're like, oh, I want to reject this and I want to do all these things. But for me, like, I've, like, most of my life has been, like, you know, anytime you're in, like, issues of trouble, like, that's where you're supposed to look to. So I think it's be very, like, foolish for me to, like, just, you know, completely throw that out of the window, because, you know, that's, like, one of, like, your main support systems. So I think acknowledging it, learning like why Black people are Christians or how they become Christians in the first place is nice, but it's also like you can learn from anything. So it's like, yeah, the Bible, all these things, like there are important lessons that are taught in there, and I think like you have the right to pick and choose. Like you don't have to be one, like you don't have to be like, oh, I'm Catholic, oh, I'm Protestant, or I'm specifically this. I think you can learn from different people, different practices and everything. So
I feel that.
All right. Okay. Queen Lynn, how do you feel?
I do think that religion and spirituality are two different things, and I certainly identify as someone who's spiritual but not religious, and I agree that you can choose. I do think that it depends on where the person is in their life and who they are as an individual, because everybody is in different places. You know, it was said earlier that many people had Christianity forced upon them or kind of influenced on them for many different reasons. But when you're colonized into something, you're told that this is the right way, that this is what you have to believe, and that's what's been forced upon you. So many people, you know, go into religion in a place of like assimilating or being a part of, versus like saying, this is something that's true to me, this is something that feels real to me. So I do think that there are people that conform or change based off of just, you know, social norms or what's been influenced, what's been taught. But, you know, I think you also have to be a certain person. Like, I'm hitting age 30, and I feel like at this stage of my life, I know who I am as a person. So spiritually, I can say that, like, I don't believe in organized religion. Like, I can, you know, pull from Christianity. I can pull from Muslim. I can pull from many different things to know who I am. But to say, like, my younger self believe that would be a lie, you know? And it's just because people are in different places in their lives, and some people do believe certain things, and they fall in the crowd, and they fall in the social norms. I think that's common. I mean, it's all about, like, feeling safe. It's all about, like, you know, sense of belonging. It's all about, like, finding purpose, finding faith in something. There's no right or wrong. It's just about how you assimilate and how you respond to your environment and the world that you live in.
So do you guys think that a person, because we talked about how specifically Black people came into religion and accepting religion, and the religions our families kind of brought us up in, do you think it speaks to a person's character if after a certain point in their life they choose to stick to that religious belief because it's what they've been taught and they've never ventured out beyond that? Or is it just because I was raised this way and this way?
I think it's a bit of both. Like, I mean, after a while, like, you know, maybe because of your environment, you have less influence to, like, maybe look inside of yourself. But, I mean, everyone's path is different, and everyone's different, and everyone has the, you know, ability to make choices that are, like, you know, hopefully for their best interest, and you gotta let people be, you know.
I think in 2013, like, we're in a world where people are starting to notice and learn different things. Oh, sorry. What's 2018? Sorry.
How much of that was?
I was like,
I was
freshman year. What?
I just graduated from grad school in 2013.
You did.
2013.
In 2018.
Okay.
You know, people are now starting to learn. I feel like we're in this whole, like, world and culture, like the energy is shifting, where people are learning and becoming a little more woke and a little more,
people, you know, aren't just like ready to believe, you know.
But I think that there are a lot of folks, like, you know, my mother, who's old school, you know, grew up a certain way, different time, different place, where they still believe in what they believe in.
Yeah.
And not to say that that's a bad thing, but I think it comes with like a generational programming, a generational learned behavior, a generational set. I don't want to say set in their ways. I hate saying that, but yeah, it's definitely like.
Well, I guess you could say maybe like setting and understanding.
Setting and understanding, learned of like what it is. So, religion for a lot of people, it is very set in stone because this is how I've been doing it for X amount of years. And I don't want to change because I'm comfortable, But I think, we're in 2018, like the newer generation, like our generation and after, is starting to learn things, and they're a little more open, and they're expanding, and they have a little more insight to like what religion was,
right?
Like how it was assimilated in us, and like what they want to claim for the future.
So, in the vein of the newer generation, this is another conversation I think I was having with you earlier, where we were talking about this new uprising and awareness of mental health and the attention to mental health. And I was kind of having an internal conflict about the way some people, or at least I feel, some people wear their awareness of their mental health issues, in my opinion, as a badge instead of, kind of sharing about it to enlighten. It almost becomes like, I am my depression. And that's all they ever be. You know what I mean? It becomes like who
they find their identity in a label.
Right.
Yeah,
I feel like there's
really funny.
It's so true. Yeah.
Like a lot of like holistic health doctors, in terms of like when people are sick, like because you have to speak like positive affirmations to yourself, they actually have to tell you like never to claim like your disease depression, or like anything. Like if you're sick, you don't say I am, or you would say I have, like instead of like. Because then it becomes like everything that you speak to yourself, you kind of internalize it, and especially if you're trying to heal or you're trying to move past that. Right. So like saying that is like, reinforcing the idea that, that you're depressed or you have anxiety or, So
it is you.
I think it's definitely
trait or something.
I think maybe now it's like more of a like hyper aware. I wouldn't say it's trendy to have mental illness, but because like, it's more like people are talking about it more, and I think people just like it's a lot of times like, sometimes I think people also, when they don't realize that you can have depressive moods without being
depressed,
and
without having major depressive disorder.
So because like, people like nobody has like a happy life all throughout. You go through,
or else she'd be a game show host.
Exactly. Like
thanks, Steve Harvey.
That is so true. Just to like real quick piggyback off what you're saying. Like I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and she was like, like I just want to be happy in my life. And I was like, what does that look like to you? Because like define happiness. And I was like trying to explain to her like happiness is more or less like a balance of everything.
Emotion,
like nobody wants to be on vacation their entire life. Like you get sick of being
for yourself.
You'd be sick of like just smiling every day, happy, like all the time. Like you have to have some, not negativity, but
to
you
make
have
you
to have
appreciate
a balance of
appreciate what happiness is. But I think you said something key, and I heard this actually in an interview I watched about Gabrielle Union, who I'm not generally like, oh, she's so insightful, but this interview was really insightful. And she said, she was talking to her, I think she said her therapist, she was talking to her trainer, her personal trainer. This was after her first marriage had failed. And she was saying to the trainer, you know what I'm talking about? The trainer said, well, what makes you happy? And she couldn't answer. She was like, food, and she was like, but how can you expect someone else to make you happy if you don't even know what makes you happy?
This was a Red Table?
No. Was it?
With Jada?
I didn't watch her Red Table, but I did see a clip of her talking about this. Maybe
I think it was a clip.
I feel you.
Well, and it also makes me think of a Will Smith clip, because he's
the Smith family influence.
He had his whole random clips on Facebook, but it was really insightful on how he talked about how him and Jada had to go and find themselves and find happiness for themselves before they came together.
And be happy together.
And it's like, if you're not happy and fulfilled within yourself as an individual, how on earth do you expect to be in a relationship with somebody and find happiness with somebody else and contribute to that relationship with somebody else?
I say this all the time, man. Like, that's why I feel like so many relationships fail now, is because people are like looking for happiness in their relationships.
Yeah.
Like, I see people like even just like posting on social media, they're like, yo, I'm like so ready for like my boo, like I'm so ready for like to be in a happy relationship. Like, people are like, I'm so ready to do this, but I'm like,
what
really,
they're really
like,
saying is, I'm so lonely.
I'm so lonely.
Please
like,
look at me. Please see
for
me.
real, like, I don't have as many hobbies as I would have liked,
or I'm just not doing my best at my job.
For real,
I
like,
need other fulfillment.
I need other stimulation because I'm not enough for me.
Right.
For real.
Oh, come on, Ken. That was a quotable ass line. I'm not enough for me.
For real.
I think going back to what you said about hyper awareness.
Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say.
Hyper awareness of being depressed versus having depression. Do you think that makes it a little less believable when someone comes forward and says that they have depression?
I don't know. I mean, for me, I'm pretty sure every college student has struggled or had periods of their times, or anybody in general, like, have period where you're anxious or where you're feeling down. But I think it's two different things to be clinically depressed and to have depressive moods. And people are quick to say, like, I'm depressed or I have
ADHD.
And I don't think it's less believable, because I wouldn't want to invalidate somebody's feelings.
Right.
You can definitely feel depressed or you feel sad, but a lot of people are not really good at expressing how they feel. So they might just use the blanket, like, I'm depressed, or it might just be, I'm feeling sad, or this happened, this is how I feel, because they don't have, they're not usually used to, communicate. Even though, there's a hyper awareness of, depression, anxiety, they still don't know how to express their feelings or what emotions that they're going through. So it's like, you have to, I think they're using it, not that they're intentionally lying or trying to be deceitful. I think they're just, this is how
blanketing their
because they think it's like an all-encompassing feeling. So they won't be super specific, because they're like, oh, I guess, if I say I'm depressed, you can make some
generalized statement.
Oh, she's feeling sad, or she's down, or she's this. So it's not really specific, and I think it's because people, even though we're aware of the issue, doesn't mean we know how to communicate about it.
Right.
So I don't think they're not believable. I think nobody wants to lie about being sad. That would be pretty low. So, because people want to be happy. So I think if they're saying they're depressed, even if they're not depressed, I think that should be okay, they're going through something.
Right.
So,
Queenland, do you think there is a direct correlation between being depressed or having depression and being an introvert?
I don't. I think that depression has always been there, and it's always been a feeling, and it's always been a thing. And I can piggyback that. I feel like we're right now in this age, we're in that instant gratification generation, where we're so overstimulated by social media and technology and certain things. If you weren't born before that age, you don't know how to fully address and talk about your feelings and who you are as an individual, because you didn't have to. Right. You can do many things behind a screen or behind a text message and not fully know a person. Whereas me, I ain't had my first cell phone until high school, for real, And I work in child development centers, and I do therapy with children who get their first cell phone at age 3. And it's, so for them, it's a norm. And the way that they communicate and the way that they relate to people is different. I think being an introvert is something that is just a part of your personality and who you are. An introvert is a person who gets overstimulated with the way that they communicate with people. It doesn't mean they don't like to communicate with people, but it just means that they need to have that break or that time out to recharge or refuel before they go back in. So I don't see it as the same thing, but I do think that, an introvert could be depressed. I do think an extrovert could be depressed.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's a feeling and not necessarily a personality trait.
Yeah. A lot of times, I think, I consider myself an introvert, and one of the things that you kind of have to struggle with is you know, sometimes because you can easily be overstimulated, so like when you do experience like depressive moods or you're unhappy or anything, or you know, feeling all these like, you know, emotions, a lot of them tend to like isolate themselves. With, I think, you know, maybe that's why you think there might be a correlation, is because, you know, once they're overstimulated, like they can't, you know, they're at capacity, like, oh, I need to retreat, and like, and people kind of take that as being distant or like, you know, moody or all these things. So I think it's definitely like, you know, a perception. I don't think there's like a higher correlation than like Steph said. I think it's just because they react differently to
I feel
conflict.
for real. I feel like I'm an introvert, quote unquote, but really I feel like my socialness is really just like almost dependent or subjected to like the energy of the people around me, or the potential energy of people around me. Like I would be more extroverted if like people were just generally more open and freeing and like exuding positive energy, but like it's just this whole thing of like potential energy. It's like I'd rather not go out because like maybe I go to the club and there's some like drunk asshole there like who's just gonna like ruin my time,
Right.
you know, so, or something like that. But like I feel like people would be more extroverted if people were just like more positive. So I do feel like it's dependent on the person, but really like potential energy is a factor.
Okay. I mean, I myself have never identified with other than being an extrovert, like an extreme extrovert. So to be honest, for a long time, I didn't even understand what like being introverted meant. I really was like, no, just
What's wrong with you?
right, like yeah, no,
Like you don't want to hang out.
I didn't understand it. Like, and I would get frustrated when we would go to like functions or whatever, and there'd be people who would like come to the function, but then like not want to do it.
Not want to be
You
like,
had to be like coached to be a part of it. Like, come on, play the game. Come on, everybody's playing. And I just would be like, this is so stupid. Stay home. Like, why did you come to this?
Okay, Rich.
It's too much stimulation, dude.
You know, for me, I didn't understand like what this is. Why do you do this? You know what I mean?
I
You
don't
can
know,
only
I
handle
think
so much stimulation, I guess.
For
you know?
me, I think like in terms of like control, like because I don't know, like if I'm somewhere that is unfamiliar, I don't necessarily want to like throw myself in like the midst of people, like, you know. And being an extrovert, you guys are more likely to do that. And as a person who's not an extrovert at all, I rather kind of just stay and like
Ease
look
into
around and see. And then like, you know, usually I like to go to events with people that I know because that means like I know one person there and I'll be more likely to engage. But to just go by myself, like, you know, I'm like, oh my god, I don't know anybody. Like, you know,
it's
get,
different
like,
by yourself. Like,
and you think like everybody's looking at you, but like really nobody cares because like they're doing their own thing.
For me, if I go somewhere by myself, I feel like no one is looking at me.
Oh.
I feel like I'm there and like I'm completely under the radar. So I tend to not really do anything by myself besides like things that I just need to do by myself, like shopping. Like, unless it's like with you or like someone else who like likes to shop the way that I do, like it's very like
you being
tactic. You know, right? Yeah, Queenland. Sorry,
But, I was like,
yeah, like unless it's somebody who, you know, shops the way I shop or whatever, then I don't want you to come.
Even that makes me anxious. It's like there's so many options, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do.
But that's
I
a
can't even
perfect
shop.
example of like perspectives and life experiences, because it could be personality, and then it's just like everybody's different, and everybody comes from different places. So yeah,
one of my very good friends who we have very similar personalities, she hates thrift stores. Like, I mean, literally from the time she's walking in the door, she's like scratching and itching. And she, like, I remember one time I was really like, I'm like, come on, just try it. Like, you'll find all kinds of gems, you know. Really trying to like,
trying to trick her
into it. I'm like, come on. And she literally like picked up 2 shirts, and then I turned around and the shirts were on the ground, and I got a text, and she was like, I'm in the car. She just could not handle it.
Is it because of like?
Because it's secondhand.
Well, that is just not her thing.
It's not
She's
new.
just not that. Yeah.
She's not
She's
a
not
designer.
So, well, I don't think it was that it's designer because she's not that kind of girl. But just the fact that, you know, somebody could have died in the shirt.
Oh my god. Okay.
I mean, that's a reality of thrift store clothes. You know what I mean? Like,
Thank you, Rich, for
I
that.
never
Just
thought of
saying.
somebody dying.
You gotta have an idea.
Yo, guys.
I
Yeah,
have some
Rich.
Palo Santos,
Thanks,
so next
dude.
time I buy, I'm like,
about to say I saged my whole clothes.
I wonder if anybody died in any of the clothes
Can you
I wear.
please stop?
I'm sure people have died in the clothes that I bought from the store. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I sage and cleanse everything that I wear. So
Look, people say that like everything carries
energy.
It carries it, and I believe that, and that's part of the reason, honestly, why I like thrift stores. Because like you walk in and like everything is just so. I don't know, maybe I'm just strange, but I walk into a thrift store and I immediately, like, I can tell if I'm going to find something or not just walking in.
I know.
Like, I walk
You got
in and I'm like,
sense?
no, I do. I really do. And
you
I
walk in
in
the
and I'm
entrance
like,
and be like, I don't know about
no,
this.
I seriously
Come on,
do that.
man,
I'm
let's
like,
just try it. He's like,
I don't know. And then I'm usually not wrong though. Like, she might find something, but I won't find anything because I'm just like thrift stores are like my superpower now. So that's where I focus most of my energy.
Oh my
God.
Yeah, we just went to a thrift store the other day. Got 2 slap chops.
What is a slap chop?
A slap chop? It's like a vegetable dicer, and it's big enough to chop chop a onion or like a smaller pepper, you know.
You don't
and you
remember
put
the
it over.
commercials?
You don't remember the commercial for slap chop? And then you smack it, and it dices up the vegetable.
Yeah,
You just
smack
keep
it.
smacking
And you
it?
smack it, you're like.
I don't think that's not how it sounds.
I mean, it's not.
It's how something
It's
sounds.
nothing like
I
that.
just like the slapping.
But yeah, it's called a slap chop.
But
Shout out to slap
Chop
chop.
it and slap it.
I
Chop
had
it
no
and slap
give
it.
them
Chop
free
it and slap it.
promo.
because they probably are a company that
They're
hasn't
dead
existed
now.
since
Yeah.
81.
Like
not
Billy
true.
Mays
That was
sold that
back in,
product.
like,
You know what I mean?
07
Billy
or some
Mays.
shit. I don't know.
Billy Mays sold
Rest
that.
in peace, Billy Mays.
Rest in peace, Billy Mays,
Rest in
cocaine
peace,
god.
Billy.
We miss you.
Ah, cocaine.
Don't
How do you know he
slander
was
dead
on? What
man's
am I
name.
say? You don't know he was.
How
was
is
he
he
his
so
life?
gassed up in every commercial?
Because it was his job.
Nah,
His
made
life
so
because
much
of
money from
right.
those.
Right.
Nah.
Baby, slap,
nah,
chop.
that's what he died from.
I don't think so. I
Arthur,
think
stop spewing.
right.
Lies,
You
making
don't lie.
assumptions.
You
Nah,
don't know.
nah.
Throwing your perspective all over the
I would know.
That's yours, not mine. It
So-
don't belong to me.
I'm gonna now ask the hard question.
Yeah.
Huh.
Which living single character you?
I am Maxine.
She took it.
Why are you?
I don't want
Are
to
you?
be.
Are you
I
just
was literally
a
just
Maxine?
binging Living
Living
Single.
Single?
So it's
Dang,
crazy
I
that you
was
say that.
not hip
And
to
I was
Living
like, because
Single
we had
like
a
that,
conversation
like,
about Kyle, and I
super
was like,
weird.
but actually,
Kyle
yeah.
Barker.
But
I
the
can
way
see
that
it.
Maxine and Kyle's relationship is, I can see that happening. I can see myself like downplaying it, and then at the end being like, but Kyle.
Right. Right. True.
And then she was artificially intimidated by Kyle and didn't know in like the season finale. Yeah.
I'm about to
Watch
say,
it again.
yeah.
Watch it again.
It's coming back to me.
And I was like, ooh, I would love to be artificially intimidated
would
by Kyle.
you?
But then she was all like,
EBG.
Kyle. But, you know, her personality, I feel like, is in alignment with me.
Mm-hmm.
Just like her whole witty comedy. I'm going to show up when I want to and eat all y'all food.
Right.
And
Coming through the
like,
window.
you know, I'm the only one wearing my locks
and a bob.
being my true self.
Well,
even
her
if y'all don't
braids,
like
because
it.
she rocked the braid bob.
Yeah.
She did
yeah,
rock the
yeah.
braid bob.
She rocked the braid. And I want to say that was like the only
But it
time
was
I've ever
great.
really remember seeing a braided bob.
Yeah.
And
Maybe in a
little bit
Whoopi
of
Goldberg
Sinclair.
movie
A
or
little bit of
something.
Sinclair.
But never a bob, though. Like she
like
would do
maybe
like it
one
would
of the
be to
girls
back.
in like
Like the
Sister
back-
Act
The back of her head
had a
was
braided
shaved.
bob.
Yeah.
I actually thought about doing this with my locks when they get longer. I think like they were like the back was like completely shaved.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anybody worn it. I think it was like nobody really does that
Yeah.
anymore.
yeah.
What's
So
his face did it in Black Panther, Wakanda.
Oh well, but that's different.
That's
it's
a
not.
bob bob.
Yeah,
She
it
has
is.
like a slanted bob.
Right.
with
It's
bobs.
not like a literal bob. Like it's not coming down.
Yeah,
past
like
his
she had
ear.
like a
her
like,
joint, and it was like literally like low in the back and
Yeah.
long in the front.
like
It was a legit like
What's
I want to
the-
speak to
are
the
they-
That
manager
shit
vibe.
was legit.
Kalia.
She
yeah.
has a slanted.
Kalia. I think it's Kalila.
Okay, you're right.
I don't know. I'll butcher it because I don't
Right.
know. I don't know.
Which living single character are you on?
I was gonna say Maxine.
Maxine Shaw, Alternate Law.
I like Regine. Oh, actually, no.
Yes, Rachel.
Regine is bougie, and I don't think I'm a bougie person.
That's
What's
my best friend.
the person who had the magazine?
Oh,
Khadijah.
Khadijah.
Because
Yeah.
Khadijah don't need you.
Yeah, I like Khadijah. I
She
think
a boss.
Khadijah and Maxine maybe like a little crowd.
Like a hybrid of Khadijah and Maxine.
Yeah.
Okay.
She an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then Maxine is just trash.
Damn.
Can't
All right,
brag.
McDill.
I don't know who is the woke guy who is always like with
Kai.
the short hair and like
With the short
with
hair.
the glasses.
Kyle.
Wow.
I think that might be Kyle.
He was a
Well, this-
professor or
Unless you're
something.
the
No,
handyman.
Kyle was a lawyer. Like
Oh,
Maxine.
true.
They were both lawyers.
I wasn't like super hip to.
Yeah, I was about to say. I feel like you didn't watch this.
Nah,
I feel
you're
like you're not
Overton.
ready for the test.
Overton.
No,
It might be
no,
before your time. It might
I
be
watched
before
it.
your
You
time.
know, I watched a few
Overton was,
episodes.
you know,
what I'm saying?
He was handy with his hands, like he fixed stuff. He was like the
I can see you as an Overton. You guys
Yeah.
have a similar cadence.
and he laughed all the time and he told jokes and him
And he had a real like genuine.
He's
Yeah.
like the highlight
spirit.
of the show,
He
you know. He had like a uplifting
And he always knew what
feel.
to say.
Yeah.
He did. Like
Oh.
there would be like a moment where like there'd be a heated argument, and he would just come in with like a one-liner.
Yeah.
And even
Yep.
though like it didn't solve the problem, you could go to commercial like, oh, Overton.
Oh, thanks for that.
You could go to commercial.
No, seriously.
That's
he
how it
fixed
would be.
cars and like I think he was
He fixed everything. He was
Yeah,
like
he
the
fixed
handyman of
for
their
that whole
building.
building.
Yeah.
Rich, how about you?
I'm definitely Kyle Parker. Like, there's really
Kyle
no.
Walker.
Right, I'm definitely.
I was
was
mad
busy.
at the last season when he like decided to go to Paris and Maxine didn't go, but he still went, and I was like, "Oh, you not staying for the last season?"
Wouldn't you go to Paris too?
I mean, I would, but you're not gonna stay for the last couple episodes.
It probably was out of his contract.
That's
It's like-
exactly what happened.
Yeah, I'm about to say because I know that's how the Golden Girls
But that
got
doesn't
broken
change
up.
that I was mad.
Because B. Arthur was signed up for 7 seasons, and after the 7th season, she wanted out. They were literally going to renew their contract for I think it was 3 or 4 more seasons.
Ooh.
So it would have been 10 seasons of the Golden Girls. But she wanted out. She was like, "We've done it all. We've done. You know what I mean? We're like, why
They're
keep
done.
it going? We're done." So that's why she got
They're
married
done.
at the end and moved, and that's when they made that show, The Golden Palace, which is basically the Golden Girls without B. Arthur. Did y'all know about that?
No.
Golden
Y'all didn't know about the
seen
Golden
I've never
Palace?
watched the Golden Girls.
Well,
How
I've
many
watched the Golden
episodes did the
Girls.
Golden
I've not
Palace
seen the
go
Golden
for?
the
Palace.
Golden Palace only had 1 season before it got canceled.
Oh,
And I want to say it was 24 episodes.
shit.
This is what
I have
my
to get that
opinion
for
of
my
what-
mom. She
what was
loved
wrong
her
with
some
it.
Golden Girls.
I think that the Golden Palace dropped the ball because they based so much of the earlier parts of the show around Dorothy not being there, instead of just really moving
Picking
on.
it up from where
Right.
they left.
So a
it
lot of
at.
the jokes would be like, "Oh, I wish Dorothy was here," or blah 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 blah, and it's like,
We're
okay,
over
but
it.
she's not.
Yeah,
And she would make
so let's
like a
move
couple of
on.
appearances like here and there on certain episodes, but still, it's like we're never really going to be able to accept that she's not here
So
if
let's
she's
carry
never
on the
not
story.
here.
Yeah.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's where they go. Because I mean, the comedy was still there, the jokes, the writing was still there, in my opinion, anyway. But the premise of the Golden
The
Palace
storyline
was
used to be-
they moved out of their house, the house that
They like bought a hotel or
They
something.
bought a hotel.
This is so
And
predictable.
they lived in the hotel, and so it was about them running the hotel,
Yeah.
like because they were short staffed in the beginning. But they decided, well, girls, we're just gonna run it ourselves, and then and they decided to run the hotel.
Yeah.
Guess who was on it with them now?
Cuba Gooding Jr.
No, Don Cheadle.
I don't know.
Don
who that
Cheadle
is.
What?
Yeah, Hotel Rwanda. He's also
Oh,
in the.
really?
Isn't he in the Iron Man movies?
The guy with the lazy eye. or
Yes,
something?
yes, he
No,
is.
that's Forrest Whitaker.
Yes,
Oh,
he
for
is.
the- yeah,
Not
okay.
Iron Man. Captain America.
Something. One of those.
Captain
movies.
America.
He's
He's
in
like
it.
the right hand man.
Yep. And so Don Cheadle was the hotel manager who had a white son.
Mm, good for him.
There was a kid on the show who lived in the hotel. His mother, I think they said she had a drug problem or something, but as the kid said, she split. He like walks up to the front desk in the first episode and he's like carrying towels. And so Blanche is like, "What are you doing in here? Where's your mother?" And he's like, "She split. So now I work here." It's just like, but
Good old fashioned
right,
old school
90s,
racism.
right. So apparently, Don Cheadle's character adopts him, and then they run this hotel together. In
Black man
Miami.
adopting
Yeah.
in the 90s.
It's like a reverse
80s.
Different Strokes.
Hmm.
Because, Different Strokes was a
Very
white man
nice.
adopting black kids.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
So, to bring it back around, because we're completely off topic,
Mm.
let's
Listen to the wind
give
blow.
let's give our final viewpoints on No, I wanted to talk about, in the same vein of like accepting people for who they are. Do you believe, now this, I'm going to take this in the political route. Those people who, let's just round it out to Trump supporters. Do you believe that it's possible to like be friends with the person who's a Trump supporter?
No.
You don't think so?
Nope.
Why is that?
Because I was there. I was legit there. J20,
Where were you?
J20 at the inauguration, like protesting and fighting, and Trump supporters, they like kicked me, they spit on me, they did all sorts of shit. And it's crazy to know that people that haven't even met you and don't even take the time to like talk to you do those things without getting to know you as a person. You know, I would love to sit down and talk to a Trump supporter, but to know that like people like that
if it was
respond
already your
in that
friend.
way, you know, when I approach them or even say like, hey, this is why I think this is wrong, and without any doubt like physically attack you, it's like, yeah, no, I don't know if that's something that I can do. And it's not that I don't want to talk to Trump supporters, it's that, you know, you showed me who you are in the first place. And so it just changes how, I guess it goes back to what we were saying earlier about how some things are people's beliefs and some things are you. And you got to remove yourself from what other people believe, because it's all about perspective. And, you know, people are going to live their lives and they're going to live the lives that they want to do. But that doesn't take away from your peace and who you are as an individual.
Right. Ken Black, do you think that there's a reverse to the kind of like excited anger that is related to Trump supporters? Do you think there's a reverse side of that? Like anti-Trump people are just as angry and just as perceived to be hateful?
Damn. Nah, I feel like, there's just like a stigma, and people kind of, they buy into it people buy into it. Like if the stigma of a Trump supporter was the opposite of what it is now, then that's what it would be. Like, the media literally, like, they tell you what a Trump supporter is supposed to be like, in a sense. They're like, Trump supporters,
like it's a race of people.
Yeah, they're like, they look like this. Right. They act like this. We're Trump supporters. So then the other Trump supporters who aren't Trump supporters yet, they can jump on the bandwagon.
Because
and they
are also that way.
Yeah, and then they can, they can find some identity and some comfort in being a Republican or a Trump supporter. But really, I feel like people who believe strongly in politics don't really understand how they work. So I don't believe in any kind of politics. If our vote was something that really had value, we wouldn't be able to do it. You know, like when we just had this election and the majority of the country voted for Hillary, and then the Electoral College or whatever was like, well, we're going to put Trump in. Like, our votes didn't really count. They counted for
to a percentage
for show.
Right.
They were for show, and then they're like, well, we already have all these investments in Trump coming in the office, so here we are. So they don't really count. It's more or less just crowd control.
But do you think that could be said of Obama being elected twice? Yeah,
true. It's just a game, really. Like, Obama was elected twice because he was allowed to be elected twice. Like, it was a great turn in our country. Like, he had the biggest youth vote, and like there was the unification of the nation in a sense, and then right after that we got the complete opposite.
Very true.
So it's not a coincidence from my perspective. Like, Obama came in at the right time. He played his part. He did a great job, and Trump's in here at an even more convenient time, and he's playing his part. But like, the presidency it's a puppet show, like, you know.
All right. So, Sev, rounding back to our original points about depression and depressive moods, etc., do you think that it will be difficult or impossible to be in a relationship or committed friendship with someone who is depressed without being a person who has understood or been depressed?
Can you repeat that? I missed what you said exactly.
Because you was on your phone.
No. I think I need to give me more time.
Okay.
You said
so
a lot
to
of
repeat
words.
the question, would it be difficult or impossible to be in a relationship with someone who is clinically depressed without you being depressed or understanding depression to their level?
Okay, I got your question now. I think yes, if you're an asshole.
Okay.
Or if you're not. I think it doesn't take a lot for you to be like, you know, to show empathy.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people, like, you know, even if you don't understand something, I think there's right or wrong ways to go about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people sometimes, like you said, you know, mental health is not really talked about. So a lot of times when people, you know, show up, oh, I had anxiety, or I have depression, you know, people will tell you, like, you need to pull yourself up by your bootstrap and get going, like, or, you know, another thing that they like to do is compare, like, you know, oh, I've been through much worse and I'm standing here before you, so, like, you should just get your shit together. And I think a lot of people who do say those things I don't think they have, like, they're malicious or, like, you know, ill intent, but I think they're just like, oh, like, you know, I've dealt with my stuff, like, there's no reason for you, or, like, you're hiding behind, like, you know, the depression veil or something, and you're not making any effort. And I think if you do that to people, especially people who have mental health issues, that's kind of like dismissive. And, you know, moving forward, if you know, based on that interaction with you, I think moving forward, if, you know, they are in a really bad spot, I think they're less likely to reach out, because, you know, they're like, oh, you know, last time I did this, like, you know, this person, this is how they responded. So I think you, as a friend, even if you don't really know anything about, you know, depression or anxiety, I think if you're a good friend, you'll definitely, you know, look up things, or, like, how to be a friend to somebody who, you know, it's like also I would compare it to having, like, maybe like white friends having black friends. I think
I was gonna bring up that point.
For you to be an ally is, like, you know, you have to be aware of issues that your friends go through. So I think it's kind of like in the similar path. If you care enough, you'll make yourself aware, because it's like, even if you might not have those issues, that, you know, your friends will, or people that you care about, family members will. And I think you should, you know, it wouldn't be a waste of your time to be, you know, learn about it, or how to be a supportive person. And people who dismiss other people on that, I think later they'll regret it. Because it's like, you're like, oh my God, like, I missed an opportunity to help somebody, or I missed an opportunity to be a good person.
But I think it's also important to know that that's not everybody's calling. Some people actually make it worse by trying to help, and they don't know how to help. And it's important to know your capacity and know who you are as an individual, because there are a lot of people, and I'm speaking as a therapist who has done this work with people and have seen families breaking up and pull apart. There are a lot of people who do not know how to respond to mental health, or aren't educated enough about mental health to know how to show up. So they end up making it worse, and they end up, like, feeding into that person's depression. And so I think sometimes it's also good to know that, like, if you don't know how to address the issue, or if you don't know how to be there for your friend, to just even say that, just, like, name it and be real and be true about it, and step back and help your friend find the resources that they need, and not even try to fake and say, oh, I'm empathetic and I want to help you, because then it becomes, and I see it so many times. I was just talking about this yesterday. People fall into their depression, and then another person's depressed because, oh, my friend's so depressed and I want to help them, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
You know? So it's also good to know, like, okay, depression is real, especially major depressive disorder. It becomes a whole thing that's like, it's not even, like you said, it's not even like a feeling or a mood. Like, a person that is in major depressive disorder can't pull out of that overnight. It's important to know that they can get the help that they need, and you don't have to always be there for a friend, but you can let them get the sources that they need and the resources that they need, and still say, like, I support you, but talk to your therapist. You know, like, please refer to your therapist, because I'm not a therapist and I can't, you know, I'm only gonna make this worse, to be honest. But please go to your therapist and, hey, let's have a movie night, or hey, let's get pizza. You know. those small things can also be like a major difference.
Yeah, I think also like a lot of times I think people, you know, if they're like, oh, you're depressed, I think people automatically assume that you don't want to, you know, you're not a normal person or you don't want to do normal things. And I think, you know, like you said, just inviting somebody out for a movie or like kind of make them feel like, you know, normal or like doing things that, you know, kind of get their minds off of it. I think, you know, I like the warning in terms of like being careful about becoming somebody's emotional, like, you know, therapist and link, because you're definitely not certified to deal with all of these things. But I think, you know, acknowledging your limits of what you can do and where you can go, because I think, yes, you know, you have to care about your friends, but also like I don't want, and like you said, nobody should be able to take that burden of somebody else's like, you know, traumas and issues as their own, because that's not fair to you. So I think it's just like you said, like I think as long as you're honest with yourself and with your friend, and is not like you're not telling them like just snap out of it and do all these things or being like rude or insensitive to it, I think, you know, you can definitely maintain a friendship. Just because somebody else is going through things that you might not relate to, I think as long as you're open to it and hearing things, I think that's probably the key to it.
So, in that same retrospect, do you think that people who are clinically depressed, do you think they shouldn't worry about dating until maybe they're in a different stage of their depression?
Like that's for the therapist.
I think so. And
you're a therapist, so.
Well, I think so. And I say that because when you're in that place, you're not in a place of like caring for other people.
Yeah, you're not able
you
to
have
build
to be selfish. You have to
sense.
focus on you.
Right.
And not to say that you can't date, but for the next 2-3 weeks, maybe even a month, maybe even 2 months, everybody's journey is different. You gotta be selfish and focus on you. Take some time for you. Take some time to focus on your goals and what you want to accomplish. You're in that process, in the therapeutic process, you're building skills and you're building resources for yourself to learn how to cope with the world.
Right.
And not everybody has that. Some people do it naturally. Some people do not. So you're in a place where you have to focus on self. And I hear it all the time when people are like, oh, after session, I'm going to go on a date with so-and-so. And then the date goes terribly wrong because you have your cognitive distortions that come from your major depressive disorder. And you can't even see it because, you know, you're still in the process of figuring out what it is. Right? So if you, like, in my lens, I think the best way is to just close off the world, see yourself, see who you are, have your support system, have your therapist, have your friends, because it's good to have like a therapist and a team, but then like have your outside support system who are your friends that can just do the superficial stuff too. And just focus on that, and that's your world. For the next 2 weeks, almost 2 months, if that's what it needs to be. Maybe not 2 years. I mean, people got to date.
Yeah.
But you know, like, let that be your world, and it's okay to be in that. Some people say, oh, I feel so lonely or I feel so empty when it's just them and they're by themselves. When you like cut off social media, when you turn off your phone, it's a whole experience, but it's also like, oh, I get to learn so much more about me. And so I think that's really important, because when you're adding somebody else to the mix, it's somebody else that needs to be fed and needs to be catered to, and you're not in a place to do that. And then you're bringing this person in, and depending on that person's ego strength or their capacity, it's either, I mean, 90% of the time it's you bringing them into your depression. But if not, then a miracle situation, then they're in there and y'all having a great relationship and they're helping you and supporting you. But in actuality, it's best to just focus on your depression in that moment. I mean, 2 weeks to a month is nothing. Once it's done, once you're in your process, once you completed your journey, you can do whatever you want to do, because you become your highest self and you become yourself where you can like move forward and do those things. I think people, going back to what we were saying earlier about the instant gratification generation, I think because people are like used to like that whole microwave stage, like, I'm gonna put this on 2 minutes, and my hot pocket gonna be done. Like you wanted to be
After
right
2
here, right
minutes,
now.
Your hot pocket is gonna be on fire.
Yes.
Hot pockets don't take that long.
But you need it right here, right
Yeah.
now. So people like approach that in life too.
Yeah.
And instead, we need to tell ourselves that it's okay to be patient and it's okay to like take the time to do the work. Because otherwise,
We
if
don't
you
enjoy
rush
the process anymore.
you're not gonna process. You're not gonna know yourself.
Because we want to be in love by Friday.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's
So-
the world that we
Relationships
live
should
in.
be like they look
People
on
wanna be in love by
television.
Friday, and they need to know that you need to be your whole complete self before you bring somebody else into your
Dude,
life.
I know
or
people
else-
who don't even have like hobbies.
Mm.
You know?
You've been bringing hobbies up a lot today.
Right.
It's like the third time you said something about hobbies. But I agree.
What are
People-
your hobbies, Kent Black?
Yo, hobbies. No, just in
What are
general.
your hobbies?
My hobbies,
Your
man.
hobbies.
I like
Working on
I
a
like to
food truck.
create. I like to build and I like to
I thought he was
create.
gonna say I like long walks on the beach.
Yo, I like long
Horseback
sex on
riding.
the beach. I like
Okay.
But no, I
Every
just like
time
to
anyone
create
talks about
some
sex on the beach, I just think about like sand getting in your
like
parts.
any abstract
All in there.
gross.
variation of creating, you can find me in there. So like in the abstract realm of creation is where I find comfort.
Word.
Yeah.
So let's round this conversation out with a loaded question, if you will, 2 parts.
What? I thought
First
he
part.
was already loaded.
Oh, we're loading like a baked potato system.
Yes.
Like a big
So, the first part of the question being define dating, what it means just to you. And then the second part of that question is, should dating always be with the mission of commitment or marriage?
Dang, I feel like dating is whatever you want it to look like, and you
But
should have.
can't Black define dating?
Define
Like,
it
what
Okay,
does it
for
mean
me,
to you?
Don't
dating
answer this
is I call you and I say, hey, let's go do something. Just you and me.
We're going on a trip.
If it's just you
We're
and
going on a
me,
trip.
and we're going to do this, it's more or less a date.
But is that
Yeah.
like, what separates that from being like, hey, let's go to the skate park? Is that a date, or is that just two people going to the skate park?
well, I feel like dating. There's some kind of
Romantic
expectation.
intent.
Yeah, there's romantic intent. There's some kind of expectation with
Okay.
dating. So you have to, before you start dating, you have to really understand like what your expectation with this process is, and then find someone who you can express that to, and then you guys can mutually venture that together.
Okay.
So, yeah, find out what that dating process means to
So by
you.
Kent Black's definition, dating is a process
It's a
in
process.
which once you explore on what you want that process to look like, expressing that idea with another person.
Yep, and if you guys agree, then you're dating.
Alright.
Yeah.
And so the second part of the question is, should
Yeah.
dating always end in commitment or /relationship? I mean, commitment or marriage. It doesn't have to necessarily always be marriage, but commitment.
I feel like if you're dating, then yes, it should end in some kind of commitment, because there's, casual sex is casual sex, and dating is like dating with there's intent. So like if you're dating, then date with the intent. But if not, then just be like, yeah, I just want a casual scenario, and just like whatever it is, just be honest, because there's somebody who's looking for exactly that. So don't be misleading, and you'll have like what you're looking for.
Word. Sev, define dating, and then should all dating end in commitment or marriage?
I don't know. I'm not very skilled at dating or any of those
Because
things.
you're 12.
I'm not 12.
You're 12.
I'm actually 20.
20. And how many days until you turn 21?
Like 2 months or so.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
You made it.
Almost a full woman.
Right.
That's what
I don't
say.
know. Like for me, I definitely still struggle with the idea of like what dating is, just because in this generation, like that can mean different things to different people.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think everybody has some sort of like, different idea or conception about what dating is or what it means to them. And I feel like the previous generation wasn't like that. Dating was very much structured in terms of like, because you know they ended up having to marry the person or do all these things. So I think they were not so laissez-faire with their, you know, activities. I'm sure, you know, people got around to it, but I don't know. I'm still figuring out what dating means. Like, you know, I'm 20, so like
You know,
I don't know.
You know, I'm 20. The world is mine.
Not the world is mine,
I'm
but
gonna try everything.
I'm not gonna try everything. But I think, you know, they definitely put a lot of. I'm not gonna put a lot of pressure on myself to tell myself like I need to know all these things. And I think, you know, people are like, you know, I don't know, people want you to be okay, like I think with what they think dating is, and I don't know if I can do that yet. So a lot of it is just me like
figuring it
out and see what I want to do, and not having to feel like I'm giving in to somebody's demands or, you know,
Being
their
subjected to
standard.
something.
I think for me it's like, I don't know, I like having rules.
Okay.
And I realize that as a person, like, you know,
Structure.
I like not that makes it seem like, you know, confined. I want to say like I like to know where I stand, and like, you know, that gives me like a sense of peace to like know where I stand in every area of my life. And like, you know, people are doing this like, you know, new thing now where it's like, you know, you kind of just go with the flow, and I'm not like that at all. So like, I had to come like open to it, because, you know, that's what people my age do. And it's like, I'm not gonna date like a 45-year-old who's like ready to settle, like, you know, because I'm not
another 14-year-old.
Yeah, so I'm not there. So it's just kind of like adjusting and kind of realizing like the perceptions that I had of like relationships weren't, or expectations that I had weren't what they actually are.
Realistic anymore.
I wouldn't say realistic. I would say different.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just like, for me also too, like, you know, my mom is like a widow, and she like never remarried or like never dated. So it's like I didn't grow in like a 2-parent household, and like.
So if you don't mind me asking,
yeah,
how old were you when your father passed?
Like I was like 5. So it's like I've only ever known my mom, and like, you know, I have like, and I'm like the only girl in my family. I only have boy cousins, and like.
You're an only child?
No, I have an older brother.
Okay.
So it's like they're not having stable relationships. Like they're like in their 20s, like living life and, you know, pursuing their careers and doing all these things. Right. So like it's not like I'm seeing like examples of like relationships, and I can't be like, hey yo, what you doing with that girl? Like, you know,
like how is that?
Yeah, like what you doing with this? So it's just like I kind of just have to like figure it out by myself. And like coming to college, like I would definitely not recommend. Don't listen to what your friends say, because. They don't know shit. They're just going.
Well, friends can be insightful. Let's not.
In college, I would be like, okay, it depends. I feel like very few people in college are in that mindset.
Because, like, well, I'll say this, because I know a lot of times when I was in college, there would be certain experiences I would have where I was like, you know, I had no idea what to do, but there's someone else who may have been through it or just had an idea of what it was and gave me their experience, not necessarily told me what to do, but say like, well, this happened to me and I did this, and I could approach the situation differently.
Perspective.
Yeah, so I definitely, you know, basically that's how I had to form my opinion. It was like, you know, coming to college, like seeing my friends, like, you know, and their guy troubles, and I was just like, oh wow, you know, like, you know, I'm not the only one, or, you know, and people definitely go through similar experiences. And, you know, I saw some friends where I was like, I'm definitely not gonna go down this path, you know, or so I was like, oh, okay, you know, like this is like an adult way to, you know, approach a situation. I don't know. I think it's very confusing. It still confuses me, and it kind of gives me anxiety about the whole issue, just because it's like, I like to know things, and if I don't know them, they bother me.
True.
So it's like, but it's like unrealistic, because like life is not super predictable.
Also true.
And I can't just be like, yo, I want to know everything. I want to control. I want to know all the stuff. So it's like, you know, I kind of have to like let that go. But I think a lot of people, I think I struggle with the fact that I think maybe like in terms of like negotiating, like, you know, expectations and things like that. I think, like, I feel like people make it seem like if you give in, it's kind of like you're settling or you're not. But I think I had to stop looking at it from a negative point in terms of like, okay, I'm not giving in or I'm not, settling. I'm compromising. So I think, I don't know even if that's a lie or a truth that I'm telling myself, but it's like I got to go through all the
channels.
Yeah, all the channels, and then I feel like eventually I'll just end on the right one, and then you'll figure
Here's
it out.
hoping.
Yeah, I mean, like, also I'm 20, not 12, so like I have about 10 more years till like I decide to want to marry, settle down, do all those things. So I think
You have an infinite amount of time to do that.
I would rather not.
Keep it in 10.
Oh, 20, you got plenty of time.
That's what I said. I said, yeah.
You got
Like,
plenty
you
of
can
time.
get married and settle down at 60.
Or 16, because this is 1941, and I had to walk from Virginia to Baltimore to meet my wife. But that's actually the story of my
I feel like
grandparents.
60 is
1999.
I feel like 62. Well, the thing is, it's not like, I feel like also another thing is like women has like this added pressure that we need to be like.
Yeah.
But I think some of it, I feel like it might be valid just because like, once you get to a certain age, like having children, like
It's difficult.
It's difficult and it
difficult.
puts your health at risk to be having children like later. And it's sad. I'm like, why is this body stop working? Like, not stop working, but it's like
Not working at full capacity.
Yeah. So it's like, we're kind of on a little time clock, but I feel like people definitely like makes it accelerate a little bit more just because of like make you hyper aware
And of course,
it.
you have those, elders in your family who, always like, when you going to do this? When you going to get married? When you going to have
I know, my mom's
a
like,
baby?
I want to have a grandbaby before I get too old.
And I'm always like, go buy
Good
one.
luck, Mom.
Right.
I'm like, yo, let me know if you find one.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you could claim it.
I mean, if I had any advice, I think it was just like, again, take some time for yourself and like figure out what you want. And I definitely don't worry about it too much. Like, I feel like there's been so many times where I've been like, things are not gonna work out or blah blah blah, and I've been like super negative. And in the end, it kind of falls into place.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like we all need, like, I need somebody to come down. Like, I wish there was like a playbook, like a little black book.
Oh, don't we all?
Of how to date 101 and 21st
My black
century.
book would be about like taxes, but same.
Yeah, taxes, like.
Or that too.
Right, how do I deal with these things? But I get what you're saying. Definitely get what you're saying. Lindsay, dating defined. What do you define dating as? And then do you think that all dating should be on the train to commitment and or marriage?
So last one, no. But if I were to, I feel like when I think of dating, I think it's an event. Like, the purpose of dating is like the act of getting to know an individual. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's leading up to marriage or, long term. But dating could be many things. Like, to be honest, I think it's getting to know a person before you get physically attached.
Because I get physical first.
And because that's, I mean, in 2013, in 2018, like, that's what
every time you
it
say
is.
2013, I don't know why I get this picture of Lizzie McGuire. Was that show on during that time? I feel like that was
Disney
before
Channel.
2013.
When they did the whole dun-dun-dun-dun.
When they would draw the thing.
But you have the hooking up, you have the friends with benefits, you have
Which
the,
I think is a sham.
and none of that is dating. Like, there's no courtship.
I think friends with
You're a
benefits
therapist,
is a-
anymore.
She's a therapist.
Yeah.
Yes, there's no courtship anymore. There's like zero determining if you're compatible in a romantic relationship or long term. So, I feel like dating has become an event now. It's like getting to know a person, and it's an event where it's different per person.
True.
Like, each individual has different expectations. Each individual has different goals for what they want out of it. I know some people that date just for the practice of it.
Or for the
Like,
meals.
I don't even
For the
have
meals.
no type of emotional attachment to you, but I'm doing this so that I can
So I have
get my
something to
skills
do.
up, so I can really ask a date to that girl that I really care about,
Wow.
So Yeah, so
Practice.
that's why I say
That's a little fucked up.
it's fucked up, but it's real because that's how people treat it. So, you know, that's why I said no to the last question, because there are some people that really are trying to invest themselves in like long term and marriage and X, Y, and Z. But it's also important to know that in the age of where we are, dating can be so many different things. And then you got to think of folks that are poly, that are dating, and they have very open relationships, and there are different like structures and rules of how they want to do it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just think that everybody has a different approach in what dating is.
Could you join in a poly relationship?
Not me. I'm a Virgo. If
Oh.
anybody knows anything about Virgos, we are very
Crazy.
we crazy. We the
I was gonna
Beyoncés
say-
of the world. We tell Jay-Z,
This-
I'm doing this concert on this day. Show
Oh.
up. I know you retired, but you still want to show up. So, you know, we get very possessive. We're loyal. We're, you know, so not me. But again, I'm not against it because I do think that there is a purpose
Against it
and
for other
intention
people.
behind why people go poly. It's like learning about yourself, learning about other people, learning about how you can love other people. And some people don't know how to stick with one relationship. Some people need that open experience to know what they want in the world and what they want out of a relationship before getting, you know, in a long-term serious relationship. And then there are some people that don't want long-term. So that's why I'm not against it. But it's not for me. Because
Yes.
I know who I am.
No.
I'm the Beyonce in this
No.
world. That tells the Jay-Z
I
to
just
show up
feel
at a
like-
concert.
I mean, like you said, I think, you know, there is a reason why, like, you know, historically, you know, people practice polygamy and all these things. Like, there are valid reasons, but I feel like this current generation, like, I feel like some people have discovered, like, polygamy and they think, like, that just means,
They
like,
use the
just
power for evil.
yeah, to just like, oh, I just want to have sex with multiple people and I'm just gonna do this, and like, but I'm gonna use it in the name of like
Polygamy.
nation building or whatever, like hotep things they be out here saying. And
Shout
I'm
out
not-
to the woke niggas.
No, they
Hey.
are crazy. And I'm like, I'm not here
True.
for it. I'm like, you can't use like this as a, like, if you want to be, you know, whatever if you want to do what you want to do, don't try to hide it and put it undercover, like under like all these false
Polygamy,
pretenses.
yeah, right.
I'm like, just say what you want
Right.
to do. Like, it's fine, but I think it's like, I know.
But that just goes back to people speaking to their truth and
Yeah.
who they are.
And
Some people don't know how to speak to their truth, and they need to.
yeah, so I think a lot of like, you know, younger people that I've met who are like interested in like polygamy or other things, and I tend to find them to be like, you know, in the Black conscious community or like that. I don't know necessarily if, you know, their intentions are really for like nation building or all these things that they do say.
Like the niggas that be at the straight pride picnic. Did y'all see that?
What?
They had a straight pride picnic
What the
in
fuck is
Southeast
that?
DC last 2
What?
weekends ago. No lie.
There's
I
no
would've
such
went.
thing.
You think I'm making this up? This was a whole ass event that had over, I want to say, 2,000 attendees.
It was
makes me
just
so
it was
sad.
for straight people.
Straight, yes.
And
There's
what did
no
they do?
had
such
a
thing.
straight black, and it was
The
specifically
whole
for
purpose of a
African
gay
Americans.
pride is because there's a oppressed population that needs a safe space so that they can be prideful and know who they are as people. How the fuck you gonna
But
have a
these
straight pride?
people at the straight
and-
pride have had enough,
That shit
and
pisses
they
me
want
off.
to
Damn.
celebrate their love out
I'm
loud.
birthing a baby.
Good for
Oh my
them.
god. Yeah, but I think
That's
that
that shit.
going back to that, I think
Straight
yeah, for
pride.
me it's just like, I don't know.
What the fuck is that shit?
If other people are
That makes me
they're
mad.
into it, like, you know, that's what they're about, like, cool, like, just as long as, you know, don't try to front,
Yeah.
like,
Let's say
That's
you're
it.
down with dipping the sticks.
I
Yeah,
guess,
just-
and then
just
we can be on our merry way, you know what I'm saying? I don't.
I will just say, originally marriage was introduced, you know, for the purpose of like building
Oh, you sound like a
relationships and nations. You know, that's where marriage really originated from, to like strengthen and to build. You know, relationships
Thanks,
and
Kanye
wealth.
West.
Relationships and wealth. You know.
Okay,
And that's where really marriage came into play. But like, I mean, even like if you look into like the animal kingdoms, like some animals have like multiple partners. Some animals have a single partner. Like penguins.
Some animals is gay.
Some animals is gay. Like penguins, they choose a life partner. Lions, they choose multiple partners. Elephants, multiple partners. Like,
really?
No.
I always
Don't
thought
speak
elephants-
from what I heard.
all right. Elephants choose
I was
one.
like, I don't think
Elephants
they
choose
one
one.
partner.
Elephants choose
Don't
one.
speak from what I heard.
Hey, true. But some animals, like for real, like I mean, like
Them's
rabbits,
is animals,
multiple
though.
partners. You know, like some animals like are gay, some are like everything. Just like life is life. Just let life be.
So to answer this question, would Kent Black be in a
The answer is
polyamorous relationship?
I feel like
Answer the question.
in my perfect like delusional life scenario,
Or on Earth?
I would be just a free entity without the subjection of titles of polyamorous or monogamous, you know?
So to answer the question, would Kent Black be in a polyamorous
Answer
relationship?
the question.
Alright. Yes.
Okay.
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 Yes.
Just be your real self.
Now
be
here's-
your honest
here's the-
self.
here's
It's
the-
okay.
the
But
last
I don't.
part.
That doesn't necessarily mean
No
like I want
judgments.
polyamorous relationships for sex. Like
Sorry.
in my
just
like
multiple
perfect
relationships.
just I would have it more so in a sense of like a community. Like I would have a community, like let's say like of 4 people, right? 2 men, 2 women. Like we are all 4 like collectively like in each other's lives for the purpose of like building each other up, like establishing wealth, like providing a secured like a nest for all of us to live like harmoniously in peace and comfort.
So you're gonna be swingers.
And maybe we have sex with each other, maybe we don't. But the polyamorous like aspect of it for me is
I don't
not
think
so
So
much.
you want a
polyamorous is
full
swingers,
sex.
though. That's not what
I
I,
would
think
be
of
like- I
when
would
I think
be
of
like-
polyamorous.
Okay,
Wait,
house.
no,
okay,
but
like full
you
house,
said
but
that
it's
you
not
know
so
they're
much
two
for
couples.
sex. It would be
Yeah,
for
I
like
mean, Uncle
the union.
Becky and Uncle Joey.
Yeah, it's like
But
let's
I know people
build a
that are poly that
community.
don't have sex at all.
Yeah,
You know,
No.
so it's not
I don't have
necessarily
sex, but it's not by
swingers.
choice.
I don't see that as,
True.
as polyamorous.
I only get
but-
to have sex if someone else wants to have sex with me. So.
Okay, here we go. Anyway, please don't.
But that's how it works.
Wait, no,
right?
but I don't understand. You said they were like like they were other couples.
Or I would just say 2. I just said 2
He gave an
men, 2
example.
women.
2 men,
Yeah, he
2
just
women.
gave an
That was
example.
just like 2 men, 2 women. Like just for the balance of it. Like maybe if I was in favor of an all-man scenario, that would be my scenario.
Right, or all women.
But it's not for
And you
me.
guys will
The
be all
polyamorous.
romantically involved. With
It
each
doesn't
other.
have to be romantic at all.
He's just saying to build, like, just almost like a family.
Yeah, like we're a family.
Because that goes back to what I was saying about how dating is an
But that's
event.
how marriage was
Because
introduced
everybody
into
sees
society.
dating as something
you know?
different. Some people see it as romantically. Some people see it as long term. Some people see it as just getting to know a person. Some people see it as like, okay, let's hook up. Let's be friends with benefits.
Let's
you know,
do it.
everybody
Take
has
your clothes
different
off, pants first.
intentions, and everybody has different
Why?
ways.
Yeah, that
Why
Go
the pants
in.
first? Could you imagine somebody
This
walking in
one.
like fully dressed, it just pans down like?
They
Because I
was
feel
just
like
like,
most people
let's
do the
do it.
shirt
We're
first,
dating.
and the pants are like the awkward thing at the end that you try to get off. So I'm like, let's do the pants first. You know what I'm saying?
After me? Well, let's not get into that. Let's get into let's do-
Is it rocking the chair?
Right.
Yeah.
Last question, and this is really the last question because we're gonna wrap up into this. Do you believe that friends with benefits is real, or is it a theory that is only successful to partial parties? Because I personally believe that friends with benefits only benefits one friend. Because only one person is truly benefiting from the friends. I feel like when you're in a friends with benefits situation, I don't ever known it to be like I call them when I want sex and they call me when they want sex and we're always just having sex. I feel like it's always like a more so of there's an initiator, a person who's always kind of like, all right, you're on the roster. Are you available at 7 o'clock? Right. Are you available for
Are
your
you on schedule?
right? Are
Please
you
confirm.
available for your standing appointment
are
or
you,
not?
Are you still gonna make your shift?
Right, exactly. And I feel like there's the
that's
recipient,
funny.
the person who's kind of like, oh, well, I'm the 2 o'clock. Am I available or not? You know what I mean? I don't feel like the recipient benefits as much as the initiator.
Yeah.
That's just my personal belief of and personal experience with the friends with benefits dynamic. But do you, Kent Black, believe that it is a true theory that can be successful?
I feel like it's really just dependent on what each party wants in their dynamic. Like, yes, it can be like a facade. Yes, it can be something that's real. Like, you can have. It's really just defined by what you and the other person want it to be. Like, maybe you're engaged in the friends with benefits because you have underlying intentions for like some kind of committed scenario with this person, and they don't. So for them, it's a roller coaster of pleasure time, and for you, it's like some sad pleasure time that you get to spend with a potential love interest, or like, you know, maybe like both parties are just at a place where they can enjoy the scenario and be accepting of it and just be. But like, I feel like it's either one of those scenarios. Either both parties are at peace with their scenario, or one person is either wanting it more than the other. So
what you're saying is, even if they are both at peace, the question is, do they still mutually benefit? So whereas both friends are being benefited.
Yeah, or they wouldn't participate.
Yeah, I share your sentiment with them. But you go ahead, share your opinion.
Okay. I mean, the whole friends and benefits thing, I personally can't do it, because I think like for some people it requires like some sort of emotional investment to like be sexually like engaged with somebody. And like, I know some people who it's like, it's not, you know, they don't need that emotional or like connection at all to just, you know,
to bone.
Yeah.
To get it
and
on.
I think once you realize what type of person you are, I think you should approach, you know, the friends with benefits with different things. Like, I personally wouldn't, and I don't think it's mutually beneficial, especially if you're a person to, you know, you need that connection or you want to connect to people. And, you know, if that other person is not receptive of it, and I think, you know, sometimes, you know, like Arthur said, Kent Black, a lot of times, like sometimes people will, you know, let's just see how it goes and maybe they'll change their mind. Sorry. And I think like 99% of the time they don't ever change their mind about where they're standing in terms of like where they wanted the relationship to go. So I don't think people should get involved if they're like, you know they need that connection, or they know they're gonna, because then it's just kind of like signing yourself up for like more disappointment,
for heartbreak.
Yeah, exactly. And then you kind of just have to blame yourself, because it's like, you know, they already, you know,
you walked into this burning house
knowing expectations that were listed. So it's like, you kind of just have to be like, okay, can I deal with this, or can I, you know, is this something that I'm willing to do, and knowing like this will be the end consequences. But I think sometimes, like, you know, people fool themselves and like, oh, you know, like, you know,
I can handle it. I'm
handle
a big
it.
Girl.
Or like, you know, I'm a great person, or like I'm a catch, so like, why wouldn't they want to be with me, or why wouldn't they do these things? And it's like, you know, set yourself up for like disappointment. But I think I have yet to hear, like you, I've yet to hear a friend
successful story.
Only in movies. Actually, not even in movies.
I'm not saying, because I feel like there's usually a flip.
Usually somebody like ends up falling in love, and like they're disappointed, and I'm just like, I actually don't know a successful friendship
that was friends with benefits, right?
No.
Last but not least, rounding the table's conversation on friends with benefits, ladies and gentlemen, Queen Lynn.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean,
yeah, I'm totally for friends with benefits.
I'm down the cloud.
There are some people that can make it work. I feel like they're like the 10%, maybe 5%.
One,
you know, I don't think I've heard a successful story of friends with benefits. And you know, I think that's just because
they're afraid of commitment.
We're afraid of commitment. It goes back to what we said earlier about the instant gratification. People are not getting in contact with like their inner feelings and emotions. People want to be detached. People want to like just have the act and not the emotions. But that's not how we're set up. Like the reality is we're not set up that
out
way.
There. I feel like that's really a lot of thing with dating for real. It's just like there's people just like are conditioned to think there's like always something more,
Chasing the
something
cheese.
The
better.
grass is greener.
The grass
because,
is greener.
You know,
yeah,
we
for
have
real.
like social media, we have TV shows, we have movies that tell us that we can be that way. So we want to fantasize about that, and people are disconnected. And when people don't have real connections with other people, when you think all your Facebook friends are your real friends, but they
are, okay?
They are. It
They
says
are
They
it.
know my birthday.
That's all they
says
know.
it on the internet that they're my
That's
friend.
all they know.
The internet
It's
says
like-
They know
they're
my
friend.
birthday.
You're not having real relationships with people, so you want to have friends with
It
benefits.
says
thinking that
right
that
there,
shit
we've
is
been
real,
friends since
and it's not.
2015.
Okay.
I agree. I think like definitely like social media and like me and my friends were just talking about this in terms of like it makes it seem like you have all this option at your fingertips. But I'm like, first of all, not everybody on Instagram that you think is attractive wants you. First of all, and
A lot of people that are quote unquote attractive on Instagram. I'm
On
drunk.
Instagram.
Instagram don't even want themselves. A lot of people
Yeah.
post
For
on
real.
there for the
Yo,
gratification
no
of
lie.
fame or being
Yeah.
worshipped.
No lie. I
Yeah.
saw a girl yesterday, literally earlier in the day, she posted like full face of makeup in a workout outfit.
And many filters.
And she put a filter on, right? Posted a full face of makeup in a workout outfit. Probably didn't work out.
At
Then
all.
later that evening, I saw her post again. Took all the makeup off,
All the
and
makeup.
then said it's important to appreciate your natural beauty. I'm like, you didn't take that natural beauty
To the
outside.
gym, right?
You didn't take it outside.
Yeah.
Working out in the
So
full
like,
face.
man, y'all
Yeah.
trash out here.
I think that definitely, and I think like
oh,
know what?
we're so delusional.
like periodically taking breaks from social media has like definitely been because it's like you get caught up in other people's lives so much that you forget.
I don't get
like,
caught up in other people's lives. I get caught up in the insights. And the insights meaning
I know.
if I post something and 1,400 people
I don't know
see
what
it and only 23
Oh.
liked it,
Okay,
Yo,
That's-
she,
that's-
she
that's-
is
right.
she is
That's my
well, the
consumed by
thing
the
is, it's like
insights
as
for
a
real.
person, like I didn't really consider myself a creative or anything, but like now that I'm actually like posting things that takes time, like
That you
and like
curate.
I create, yeah, and I'm like,
Mhm.
I know this is not trash because I debated
Okay,
50 times
okay.
to like post it on there, so I'm like, I know
I
it's
monitor
good.
what time I should post
Yeah,
Yes.
what time
for
I post.
maximum visibility.
I know. I'm checking my
Okay.
analytics. I'm
Right.
checking my
You gotta be
insights.
strategic. I'm just saying.
And I'm giving
So,
y'all the
gotta be
best that I got, Anita Baker.
And
And
Also,
then you still
Instagram is
deny
changing
it.
analytics for small
What?
businesses.
True.
For business accounts, they
Yeah, they
change
want
it.
you to pay.
They want us to
you
pay. I have been considering changing my business account
Back
to a personal
account.
for real.
But-
But I'm addicted to the statistics.
I know.
like seeing the
I
numbers.
would be open to not having statistics for like a few months just to
Just to
get
see
some
if it-
more
visibility.
possible exposure.
But also the
For
thing
real.
is, like, I'm like just starting out in like my photography page, so like most of the people who follow me are my friends, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I know you saw my post. Why didn't you like it? Why aren't you
And the real
supporting
gag
me?
is when they see you in person and they're like, "Those photos you posted
Were
were
amazing."
dope."
The ones you didn't like,
Right,
bitch.
right, and not,
Yes!
and not specifically that you just didn't like it. But if you're not gonna like it, don't talk to me about it, bitch.
Mhm.
Like
Well-
you know what this is about.
Also, I will have to give them the benefit of the doubt. Like most people who are not business owners on Instagram don't understand or
Yeah.
appreciate the level of a like or a comment, like
Mhm.
analytically.
It's
Like
a
my
currency.
own brother, my little brother, follows me on Instagram. I'll literally like I'll be sitting next to him and I'll watch him like scroll onto
Pass your own shit.
my shit, and he'll watch the full video
and then just scroll.
and then just keep scrolling. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, I was like, I'd rather you just like it and not even look at this shit. Cause like,
Okay.
honestly, but he just doesn't know. So like now I like explain to him and he likes the shit. Like,
Yeah.
but most people, they don't like, they just don't appreciate it or see it like on the level that like business owners on Instagram see it. So I try not to hold that against most people because
yeah, and that,
at least
that's
they
something
see
I had to
it,
come
and
to
when
terms
they
with.
see it, they process
Salty.
it. Which is why I post the same content multiple times on my
Oh,
page.
definitely.
Because like people like they'll just like look over it, but if they see it, maybe the third time they'll actually like invest in it.
But I think also it's like, you know, I mean, I definitely had to be like, oh my god, I know all my friends follow me here. Like, why aren't they liking my stuff? Like, you know. But I think I had to like move away from that. Like, you know, they
Well,
don't owe me a
I'm gonna
like
tell you
or
this,
anything. So
and
it's
this
like,
is we're gonna end with this. When I first started all my business back in I want to say 2013, I put it in my mind first to not depend on friends or family to help me.
Exactly.
They've only known you to be the one thing that you've been prior to you starting that business. So regardless, you could grow your hair out, change the color of your skin, you're still gonna be what they've always seen you as.
Yeah,
so regardless of how hard you work, what you do, how hard you create, they're
what
never
you used
gonna
to
see
be.
you above what they've seen you as,
Yeah.
and you will never make it to them until you exceed their expectation of what making it is.
Yeah.
So
And you're
you
not
can't
doing
put
it for them. You're
right.
doing it for you.
Because I mean, people say the most ridiculous things. They're like, "Oh, you got a little clothing line? Why don't you go on Project Runway?"
I know.
Get out.
Because that's not the only way to be
You
successful.
I know. They're like, why don't you go
oh
on
my
America's
God,
Got
you
Talent?
would win, so you think you can dance.
Because that's
No,
making
no,
it to
I hear
them.
that
So
all
you
the
gotta,
That's the only
you
thing
can't
about
fit
America's
that.
Got
Talent.
You should go do this, and it's like,
I'm like,
no,
oh
that's
my
not the
gosh.
only way to achieve success. Some
Yeah.
people don't want their success given to them in that fashion. You know what I mean? Some people actually want to earn it.
true.
So I think that you gotta step away from expecting support from those people. The key from a lot of my success was going to the events, meeting people, and people
the
who
groundwork.
don't know me,
Yeah.
and then those people, there are like so many people who I've met since starting my journey
Are
as
like
an
your biggest
entrepreneur.
supporters.
Biggest supporters,
Yeah.
and these are people who before
Didn't know
that
you,
day
and-
never knew me,
Exactly.
and that's because they had nothing to compare me
My
against.
biggest
Yeah.
supporters
You know what I
are
mean?
people I've never even met. My biggest supporters
Oh,
are not
fuck all
people.
of us, Ken
Yeah.
Black. Fuck everybody in
I'm
this
about
room.
to say,
Hi.
what
No,
you
I
do,
mean,
Kim
like,
Black? What
we
you
be
do?
at the
that's
shows.
what I'm saying. Like, I didn't know you people before, like, my
You people!
my artist. Yeah, all you people.
Now everything is
Black
outrageous.
supporter.
Oh, you and her.
All
But
of
for
you.
real, like, all these new people in my life are like my biggest supporters, and like my old friends, like you said, like they compare me to what I used to be, and they're like, "Oh, dude, I remember when blah blah blah." And now you're, I'm like, stop comparing me. Like I'm comparing myself to where I was yesterday, and you're still living like 2010 Arthur,
Right.
or 2010 Kent Black, and I'm like,
No, because you was Arthur back then.
yeah, and I was Arthur back then, and now I'm a different. I'm just a completely different person. And they like make fun of me
Every
and,
day
like,
when you're walking down the street,
but for real, and like,
everybody in that street.
yeah, and get along with each other.
I love Arthur.
Right.
And I say, hey,
Hey,
what a
hey,
wonderful kind of day.
Hey.
When to learn to work and play.
And
get along with each
other. Hey.
You gotta listen to your heart, listen to your heart,
Listen to the rhythm of song on the street. Open up your eyes.
Open up your ears.
Together to make things better.
And
While
working together.
It's a simple rhythm.
And it comes from the heart. Just believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself.
That's the place
Ah.
to start. And I say, hey,
Hey, what a wonderful kind of day.
Hey.
When we work to learn and play.
And get along with each other.
I feel like Nicki Minaj would do a verse on that.
Hey.
What a wonderful kind of day.
Hey! And the
Hey,
cat.
DW.
And then straight to commercial.
Right, every time. Well, thank you guys for listening. This has been a very hopefully uplifting and confusing episode of Me Centric. I'm Rich Rocket. This has been my special guest, Queen Lynn.
Hey, find me on Instagram, Queen Lynn Moves, Queen Lynn _moves.
And
7 captures. SE7 like the number EN_captures.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Kent Black. Thanks for
Black.
having me. Thanks for
Love it.
tuning in. Like, make sure you tune in on the next episode. We in here. Big love. Peace.
Peace or child.
Formerly known as Arthur.
Hey.
Oh, yeah.
Yay.
Okay, I hope you're awake because we still got.
I forgot we was recording the whole time.
Why is it not stopping?
Because it doesn't need to stop.
It froze. It didn't
Can you
get any
feel
of
it?
No,
Can you feel it?
It's legit like not.
What?
Okay, there
Ain't
we go.
We're making
no
a cake.
stopping us now.
We're on the move. No, they recorded all of it.